morning, good evening, depending on your time zone. We are back again, of course, to discuss this very important subject. Is a bombshell dropped by Senator Sani Shehu. Of course, to the ears of the President Ahmed Bola Tinubu. A nation is built by the ideas of freedom, equity, and fairness. A nation is built by the ideas, by the principles of freedom, equity, fairness, and justice. I think that was a bombshell, of course, to the sitting President Ahmed Bola Tinubu. I believe that will sink deeply into his ears and keep resonating that you cannot unite a people, you cannot unite a nation by mere changing the national anthem or making a national pledge or making empty promises that have not been kept. Of course, the people are aware that these promises cannot be kept because those who are giving the promises already understood that they are not trusted. They don't have, of course, the trust of the masses. They knew them to be political jobbers, political opportunists, those who are there, of course, to make money for themselves, regardless of whatever might be the plight of the masses. A nation is not built by the barriers of gun trying to force and coerce different ethnic nationalities to remain in Nigeria. Now, when you consider the position of Senator SHEHU Sani, you understand that Senator SHEHU Sani is nothing but a student of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu when it comes to the principles of freedom, equity, and fairness. Senator SHEHU Sani was very bold and very articulate and seizes the opportunity he has to make this very clear to those who should have known better, to those who are deceiving themselves, to those political elites or the supposed leaders who are wallowing in self-deception and delusion, thinking that a mango tree can produce apple. It is impossible, it is impossible, and cannot happen. Except that it's grafting, but ordinarily or naturally, a mango tree cannot produce pawpaw. I have never seen that happen. So if you're expecting a cashew nut from a pawpaw tree, you are more or less wasting your time and deceiving yourself. It is not realistic and it is not possible as far as nature is concerned. It's a good moment, of course, for him to have reminded the president again, who claimed he fought against the military juntas. He protested, he sponsored protests against the military juntas. But unfortunately, under his watch and the watch of APC government, in October 2020, 20th of October 2020, what happened? That the people, innocent youths who were just protesting, reciting the national anthem, were shot. Having the national Nigerian flag, reciting the national anthem, were shot with the lethal weapons, and scores of them were left dead. And today, an inquiry was set to review and make investigation of what transpired. Of course, they came and indicted the government or whatever, those who are responsible or in charge. but there was denial here and there. The current governor made a submission in the first instance that it is power beyond his control. Afterwards, they tend to bend the truth, and today the truth is covered. But can you really cover the truths? So for Senator Shehu Sani to come up at the nick of the time and seizes the opportunity to remind them, if they care to listen to him, that a nation is not built, a nation is not united by mere changing the national anthem or making a national pledge. Nigeria, we heard it. Though tongues and language might differ, we are one. How are you one? Without justice, without fairness, without equity, me and you are one. How? In what way? Even the Nigerian constitutions stated very clearly that Nigeria shall be an indivisible entity on the basis of justice, equity, and fairness. What does that mean? That is a prerequisite. That is what is needed for the next line of action to stand, to be validated. Is a prerequisite for the continuity of the Nigerian state. It is the foundation, it is the anchor, it is the tripod stance on which Nigeria can continue to exist. He said Nigeria shall be an indivisible entity, a nation predicated on justice, equity, and fairness. If there is no justice and there is no equity, there is no fairness, Nigeria ceases automatically from the provisions of the Constitution to exist. Now, for Senator Shehu Sani to come up at the nick of time to remind the President of Nigeria, His Excellency Ahmed Bola Tinubu, that no nation can stand. You cannot unite any nation where there is perversion of justice, where there is insincerity, where there's suppression and oppression of some group or regions within the same country. What are you building? You're just building something that will definitely collapse on you. Unfortunately, the founding fathers of Nigeria were driven by their self-actualization, self-fulfillment, self-pursuit, self-interest. Across the north, south, and west, they never agreed on a common ideology, on a common template based on ideals of principles, equity, fairness for all. Is it Awolowo that is fighting with Akintola for dominance, for control of the West? You saw the Operation Wait Here, and the rest, where they are fighting themselves, killing themselves. When do they have the time to plan for a coherent and comprehensive, detailed terms and conditions upon which the existence of Nigeria will be defined? It is quite unfortunate. Are you talking of Zeke of Africa that is only interested in becoming the executive president of Nigeria? It doesn't matter how that happens. Of course, is it Tafawa Balewa or the Sultana or Sekoto or whatever from the north They're divisive in their words and actions. The Zinc of Africa. Down the line, several decades down the line, Nigeria has not attained nationhood. Why? Has people sat down to ask? Nigeria has not attained nationhood because there is no national ideology, there is no uh, principles guiding the oppressions, the ethics, and the defined templates that is a reflection, a comprehensive reflection of the people's will. Not even in the current illegal constitution as submitted or maintained by constitutional lawyers of great repute. They have considered the constitution of Nigeria and came up with a submission that it is illegal, is a fraud document that need to be discarded, and of course it does not reflect the will of the masses of the ethnic nationalities and cannot control or address the current nagging issues of national concern. It cannot. And if it has not and cannot, then definitely it's of no use predicating or running the same country with a faulty and illegal document. No wonder there are, of course, unrest here and there because the template on how Nigeria could be run to ensure harmony across boards was not in the first place given the opportunity to see the light of the day. It's just a group of persons who came around and, of course, uh, uh, script on something or scribbled on some words of what they think is the best for them that can protect their political interests. Senator SHEHU Sani have let the cat out of the bag, boldly reminding the president that whatever you are doing could be considered as irrelevant. Discarding the former national anthem and adopting the old one does not change anything because you can't just put a new wine in an old bottle and expect a different result. It can't work. Yeah, you're made joking. You're just having a fund or catching a fund. You're not serious. You're not committed to an enduring and lasting solution that will, of course, set the record straight and give people opportunities to define their collective existence and the way forward. Unfortunately, those opportunities have been lost because there was time different ethnic nationalities were calling, demanding for attention for sovereign national conference to be convened, but the political leaders have no political will, of course, to heed to the yearnings, to the glamours, to the agonies of the people until the grace, the opportunity was exhausted. So if you're thinking that such opportunity could be discovered, well, let me grant you the benefit of doubt that the reality is as my people do say, aqua fola mano. The oil has been spilled. The milk has been spilled. The opportunities to have redeemed the Nigerian state, unfortunately, has been lost. That is another way of sending the message to His Excellency President Ahmed Bola Tinubu by Senator SHEHU. When you look at the submission of Senator SHEHU, of course, to the president, is it that different from what Mazi Nnamdi Kanu stood for? Mazi Nnamdi Kanu called for regional control and resources of each locality to control their resources, develop at their own pace, define their own terms of operations and how to secure their own region and people. But they said, bring Nnamdi Kanu and kill him. How can you talk about restructuring? How can you talk about regional control? How can you talk about resource control? How can you talk about harnessing the resources of the country or regions for the betterment of the masses? We want the masses to suffer. They will remain under oppression and subjugation. How can you be the voice of the people? Who are you? Who born you? Who is your father? They continue to pursue him. They continue to fight him. But he remained relentless. He remained undistracted, focused, because he was driven by that truth, that inalienable rights of the people to self-determination, to freedom. It is an inalienable right that not even any government can usurp those rights. There is a limit to what the government can do when it comes to the fundamental rights of the people. The right to live, the right to self-determination, the right to freedom is given by God, by the Creator himself. So no human government has a right to usurp those rights. That is just what, of course, the United Nations Charter on Human and Fundamental Rights of the People stress. Freedom is, okay, here said freedom is what? Is grabbed or given. Well, freedom is not given, but it's taken. Freedom is something you must fight for. That is what the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra represents. I have followed him, followed most of his public speech, his videos. It was centered on equity, fairness, and justice. That no society can survive hostility, injustice, deliberately sustained and sponsored by the ruling class, or those who believe they are born to rule, while others are born to be subjugated, oppressed, and deprived whatever is duly their rights or is due for them. Because I search upon that, you can't take it. That is the true position. That is nothing but the truth. Tell me any nation that is united. Tell me any nation that have moved forward. Tell me any nation that have experienced growth, industrial revolution, without peace. Because without unity, without justice, without fairness, you can't have peace. It is not possible. It is impossible to expect progress, unity without equity and fairness. Defined in the deeds of justice, where each person will be given opportunity, or group of persons will be given opportunity to explore, of course, to move forward. Equity is better than equality. Of course, that is true. Equity is better than equality, where ingenuity is allowed to strive, where merit is allowed to survive, where people are given the opportunity to advance and aspire to become better and contribute to the growth and collective growth of all as sundry. But in the absence of that, what you see is the opposite. Stuck in the wheel of motionless despair, acrimony, insecurity rocking the entire regions of this country. Money that should have been expended in development of the human capital and, of course, infrastructure wise, has been voted to fight terrorism, to fight Boko Haram, to fight ASWAP, to fight Al Qaeda, to fight ISIS branch in Nigeria, to fight other, of course, militaries, and unfortunately, to fight the agitators. Agitators, what are they agitating for? Is it enshrined within international recognized laws? Is it well defined in the United Nations Charter on Human Rights? Of individuals or nations or ethnic nationalities, as the case is, the right to self-determination or agitation, what fueled the agitation in the first instance? Just as the internal leader of the Biafran states in the First Republic, after the declaration of the Biafra in 1967 as a sovereign state, Dim Chukwemeka, upon being interviewed, said he decided to take that hard resolution, a difficult resolution, because of the injustice, unfairness, and marginalization and suppression, the killings of his own people. And we cannot continue to watch people that you say you are one nation, you are one country, killing you in the same country you claim to be your own, seeing you as an infidel, as an alien, as somebody who deserves to die. Of course, that led, after wide consultations, Dim Chukwemeka or the Jukwe has to take the very difficult part, but that was the only option, of course, left for survival. But 50 years down the line or more, has not nagging issues been addressed? Had the injustice been addressed? Has the lack of equity and fairness been addressed? The marginalization and suppressions, unfortunately, have been deepened, have been expanded beyond what it used to be. No wonder this generation have risen again that said, no, we thought the Civil War would have taught the ruling class a lesson, but they still wallow in that self-deception that they have to lord it over to those they believe they have conquered. They have no voice and, of course, have lost their voice. They remain under subjugations. And any strategy or program to keep them perpetually in the dark or in the state of backwardness will be sustained. But the people have risen and said, no, you can't define our life. You may have opportunity to have unjustly treated us in the past, but we have the present to redefine, of course, the principle of our existence in order to preserve the posterity of the future. And that is what exactly is happening. That is what exactly is playing out. So for Senator Sani Shehu to have been very bold to send this resounding, very clear message to the president and, of course, the entire cabinet, the senators, the House of Representatives, and even the military, the security architecture, or the defense headquarters, to understand that that is just nothing but the truth. The use of kinetics cannot solve the problem. I watched a viral video where they recruited, newly recruited Nigerian combatant men or military men. We are just juggling. I said, where are they juggling to go? You are juggling to go and enforce, coerce, and suppress the people who have already made up their minds. The only crime they have committed is that they made up their minds to uphold the principle of justice, their fundamental right as enshrined in the United Nations Human Rights Charter and the right to self-determination, which Nigeria is a signatory to the United Nations on fundamental human rights and the rights of the people to self-determination. If that is the only reason why Nigeria could recruit 6,000 or more military personnel to go and stop them, it's just the case of, can be likened to the case of Pharaoh. When God said, let my people go, he said that who is that God that will let you go? You are daring the God of the people. When you are asking questions, either by your vocal expression or body language, when people say they want to go, leave us to go, leave us, abandon us to our own fate. And whatever happens to us after we may have left, it's not your business. And you are saying, who is that God that will deliver you out of their hands, out of my hands? Well, it's just a matter of time. Of course, you might see the God, or you might see the people, of course, who will definitely resist and say, no, we have made up our mind, and there is nothing you can do about that. So it's a timely reminder, it's a timely response from SHEHU Sani, who, of course, I may liken to be a disciple of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. Because Mazi Nnamdi Kanu has made the entire ethnic nationality to understand their rights and privileges as humans, and of course, to demand such rights. And today, many people have been informed, many people have understood the deprivations, the oppressions, and the deliberate attempt. Just as the legal luminary Falanas made submissions of most recent, about a few days ago, it said over 5.4 trillion has been paid for subsidy. Even when the president, upon assuming office as the president of the Nigerian state, GSFR, Federal Republic of Nigeria, made a public declaration that subsidy is gone. The same subsidy that is gone, that you have paid 5.4 trillion. To who? If you said you are not paying subsidy again, you are saving money, and you ended up paying 5.4 trillion. Who is deceiving who? And of course, that have affected virtually everything. Look at this sandler was the costliest, the hardest sandler in the last 30 years. The Muslim faithfuls find it extremely difficult to purchase a ram that was usually sold in the last 4 years, 35, 60,000. You know how much they are buying it? 500,000. A common ram. So it has unfortunately affected all, whether you're a Muslim or Christian. Whether you believe in the Muslim ticket, you are still bearing the brunt. Well, I'm not talking about politics or elections here. Our interest is humanity and how humanity can be preserved, can be saved from this abysmal decline. Having been forced to its lowest ebb. Well, to be advised is one thing, and to take the advice is another thing. But of course, the gods, the universe has had the voice of SHEHU Sani, who was bold to tell the president at the dinner, of course, to mark the Democracy Day on the 12th of June. He said, Mr. President, you once sponsored protests, you once sponsored people to protest against the military junta to demand for their rights. But unfortunately, under your words as the leader of APC and under the government of APC, people who were just protesting, expressing their grievances and the misgovernance and irresponsibility on the part of the government and its sensitivity to the plight of the citizens, only by raising the national flag and reciting the national anthem, we are massacred, we are killed, and some were still detained after many years. And SHEHU Sani was calling the attention of the president that you once hit the streets to protest against the military junta. You once hit the streets, you sponsored people on the streets to protest against Jonathan. Where is that equity? He that comes to equity must come with clean hands. Where is that justice? If people who only protested against the misgovernance, demanding for the accountability and good governance, will be killed, where is that justice? And you're telling the world that you fought against injustice by the military juntas. Now, are you telling us, having ascended the throne, you are now marching everybody to the point of losing their lives? What the rest is history. But there's something you cannot steal from the people. The people are watching. Records are being kept. A day of reckoning is coming. For Sani, Senator Sani SHEHU, he have barred his mind that it is not about changing of national anthem. It does not change anything. I overheard the National Orientation Agency or Commission saying that having a jungle of course running in NTA, that I am a real Nigeria, which means there are fake Nigerians. If the National Orientation Agency can come up with such words, could not question or evaluate such words before coming. He said, I am the real Nigeria. Okay, there are people who are the real Nigerians. You consider as real Nigerians. While some there are fake Nigerians. And some are half Nigerians. Some are Nigerians by proxy. How can a National Orientation Commission agency come up with such jingles. It is quite unfortunate. It is quite unfortunate. Hi, Sydney. Okay, from Sydney, Australia. How far? Okay, thank you. We are discussing an interesting subject today. The borders are nothing but the truth. When the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, Mazen Namdi Kanu, said, I will fight them with the truth. It's too hard, but the truth is surfacing today. This truth is starting on all asunder. That whether you use the instrument of the state to coerce the people, you cannot win them because ideologically, psychologically, emotionally, they have been detached from the Nigerians' existence. They have been detached from the project called One Nigeria. You cannot force them. Nigeria have ceased to exist in their own hearts, in their minds. So how do you think you can win the war? By the use of barrels of gun, by kinetics. Look at today, the world powers, America, the United Nations, we are demanding for the restoration of peace in Ukraine, citing the rights of Ukraine and the citizens, of course, to self-determination. They have the right to define their political future and affiliations. They have the right to self-determination. They have the right to express, of course, where to belong, or to define who and who should be their allies. But what is happening today in Biafra land is quite pathetic. By my own submission, I will use this opportunity to call on the Nigerian government to sit back and have a rethink. Consider the position of Senator SHEHU SANI and every other well-meaning personalities who have advocated for justice, equity, and fairness. Of recent, of course, the Ohanese have maintained that holding back Mazen Nnamdi Kanu can't solve the problem. It can't solve the problem. Unless you want to harden your heart, just like Pharaoh, until you get to the point of no return, the Red Sea. It's just wasting your common hard-earned resources, scarce resources, to execute a war you know at the end, you know from the beginning you have lost. Because the international communities are seeing what is happening today. They are seeing more than we can see what is happening in today. They are seeing the suppressions, the marginalizations, and the, of course, continue use of coercive force to suppress a people from expressing their political rights or politically protected rights to self-determination as a citizen of the world, which is recognized. So you cannot think you can win the war. You can as well expend your resources. You can expend and waste your human resources or personnel. But you cannot win the war. Of course, of recent, whether so you can maintain that position. What is the position? The position remains. Unfortunately, you can't win the war against Biafrans. Why? Because the war is the war of ideology. It's the war that is predicated on principles of justice, equity, and fairness. So you can't force a people against their own will, contrary to what they believe, what they upheld, what they know better, of course, as the only way of survival. So when you expend resources, energy, and human personnel trying to fight a lost battle, you end up becoming a monumental loser. Because you can't win the people. Not when they are determined, when they have made up their minds. You cannot win them. That is just the truth. Especially the most difficult soldiers to fight is volunteer force. Those who volunteer themselves, not people who want to receive salary, who are working because they have no other alternative of survival. They want to be enrolled so that at the end of the day, they will count money. But people say, "Ego aguragu anaghị ezu ezu." Ihe aguragu anaghị ezu ezu, meaning that they are just surviving or looking for opportunity to survive. They were not compelled or activated by the principle of justice, of serving the nationhood. So if you want to fight a volunteer force, you must be ready to sacrifice all. And unfortunately, you can't win them. You can't win them. You can't win them. You cannot win them. How many times have I said it? Deep in the heart of the president, he understood that these people, you can't win them. He understood that they were not joking. He understood that no arsenal on the earth can stop them. Then why expending human resources, capital, the resources, scarce resources, to execute a war you know you have been defeated already. Martin Nandekano have maintained his composure. However odious and exacerbating, he has said it's a point of no return. Whether dead or alive, Biafra has come. The Prime Minister Simon Ekpa also maintained the same positions, and people who are seen afar, who have seen beyond the nose, who have seen beyond the cloud that is covering the political elites, that you cannot win them. These are voice of reasoning, voice of wisdom. When you ignore such voice or voices, you might end up regretting it. Of course, being a big time loser. So it is high time to begin to ask questions and respect the rights and the fundamental rights of the people so that you can have peace, so that you can have good records, so that your posterity will be judged fairly, will be in the good book of history. You can't erase history. History will one day catch up with any one of us. When you think you have the opportunity, you have the power, powers are not forever. They are limited. One day, you will still walk out of that office and assume the position of an ordinary man on the streets. But whatever you have done with the opportunities and privileges you have, of course, will define your rewards here on earth and thereafter. So it is a candid advice to the Nigerian politicians. Yes, today you are on the top, you are on the helm of affairs, you are in control of resources, you can garner all the resources, all the centers of the state, but that will not make you right. Let the voices of wisdom and reasoning appeal to your conscience. You have the opportunity to right the wrong. And when you fail to do that, well, it's a matter of time and history, of course, may not be written in your favor. So, SHEHU SANI being bold to say this to the president, I believe he may be contemplating on those words. So, national anthem, who is reciting the national anthem today? Go back to the drawing board. Get the ethnic nationalities involved. Let them know what is in their minds. As the Biafrans has already barred their mind, they are not waiting for anybody. It's a battle everybody must fight for themselves. And if the rest of the country refuse to fight, just as now they are conversing for regional government, there have been disparity arguments, disagreements. The North are not willing to subscribe to regional governments, which means they have been enjoying the proceeds, the undue advantage, of course, over the decades. They wouldn't want a balance. They wouldn't want a system where there is equity, fairness, and justice. So they want Nigeria to continue this way in as much as they remain the gross beneficiaries of the flag system. So other ethnic nationalities or regions can go to hell. They are not meant to rule. They are meant to be suppressed, to be overrun and subdued and take over their own ancestral lands. They see regional government as a threat to their whatever ulterior motive or interest they have been pursuing. But whatever be the case, unfortunately, I believe strongly by opinion sample that even the Biafrans, or those who believe in the agitation, the restoration of Biafra, are not subscribing to regional government. It's a dead end as far as that's concerned. And of course, it's just a dead horse. It's just a dying horse struggling to survive. Well, whatever be the case, I think we'll be able to discuss this. Or let me see if I can read some words here. Okay, so what goes around comes around. Okay. Well, that is quite interesting. That is just exactly. If you cannot see the danger signs, well, you might be caught up with unfortunates. Thank you once again for being part of this short broadcast. Though we have expended just about 40 minutes plus, I do appreciate you for being part of this discussion. Kindly hit the like button, share, and subscribe. If you're joining us for the first time or you haven't subscribed, seize this opportunity to subscribe to this and turn on to the notification buttons. We bring your way unbiased reportage of events. And of course, as it continues to unfold, as it is hot here, thank you once again I remain Chigozendi, but the host anchor. Wishing you the best of the week and good night.